Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about something that kind of just came out of nowhere. Today, we're going to be discussing the alternate ending to Michael Crichton's second Jurassic novel, The Lost World. So, over the last couple of weeks or so, I've been contacted by someone named Ryan Monahan from a website called Adventure Collectibles. I need to stress this at the beginning of this video so you guys know fully where this is coming from, and also in order to lead you in the direction of where you can find more interesting Jurassic stuff like this. So Ryan actually got his hands on an early manuscript of Michael Crichton's Lost World novel that had not yet been finalized for official print. And after reading through it, he noticed a pretty gigantic difference at the end of the book that was cut out of the edited release. A link to his website where you can follow all of the cool stuff that he does will of course be provided down in the description below. Now, this manuscript version of The Lost World is interestingly nearly identical to the version that came out in 1995 in almost every way, with the exception of this lost ending. And the reason I wanted to talk about it on here in full is because if this had been publicly shown to Jurassic fans in 1995, it would have drastically altered the state of InGen's genetics staff because, believe it or not, there is a brand new character that is introduced in this ending that has a lot of interesting ties to the first Jurassic Park novel. So now that I've gone out of my way to lay the groundwork for what I'm talking about, I guess it's best to just go ahead and begin. So in this early draft of the novel, there are several small moments that are present in the final release that differ ever so slightly in order to hide what the original ending would have been. For example, in the final novel, the manager's residence on Site B is described as, quote, like the other houses, it was overgrown. However, in the manuscript, this line is noticeably different, reading, it didn't seem to be quite as overgrown as the other houses. Doc Thorne also takes note of fresh footprints in the worker village when he first encounters the Carnotaurs, which he finds interesting due to the fact that they had all presumed that no one else could have been on this island at the same time that they were. Well, towards the end of the book, a very interesting revelation comes to light. During the portion of the story where Kelly finds the back door in the floor that leads to the tunnel our protagonists used to escape, they hear a mysterious voice call out to them saying, "This way." A few yards away from Kelly, she was supposed to see a thin man dressed in all white. His body is described as looking like a cadaver. Once she and the others go in the direction that this sickly man tells them to, they enter into an all-wood paneled study that is noticeably clean and orderly. On the desk, they saw a young Chinese man in a white frame. Slowly, the lot of them walked into this area's living room, where a lone man was seated in a chair towards the corner. "Come in," the man said. "Let me introduce myself." But Ian Malcolm took notice of this invitation immediately, and replied that it wasn't necessary, and that he already knew who he was. In the chapter titled Caretaker, it would have been revealed that this Chinese man is someone named, get this, Elliot Wu, a name that was on one of the files that Arby had tapped into while on Site B. This man was the head of Isla Sorna. Richard Levine rightfully found this revelation to be rather confusing due to the fact that a man by the name of Dr. Wu was documented as having been part of Jurassic Park. However, that man died during the events of the first novel. Elliot goes on to reveal that this is correct, and that Henry Wu was actually his brother. They worked together at InGen cloning dinosaurs for John Hammond, and 5 years ago, Henry was killed on Isla Nublar, but Elliot was determined to carry on. Henry was noted as being the real genius, and he nearly helped. But once he saw flaws in the system, he couldn't just let all of their work die. Now, interestingly, it's here where we are given the infamous DX speech that exists in the Lost World novel. Although in the manuscript, it's actually revealed that the name DX simply means Disease X, which was something that they thought they got rid of a long time ago, but it had unfortunately come back recently. And all it really took was for one single infected animal to end up spreading it back on the island in recent times. A silent carrier that happened to be a small Compsognathus wound up being responsible for this new outbreak, and sadly, this disease had even hit the mainland. You see, you have to actually be bitten or eat the meat of a dead carrier in order to become infected yourself. and the cases of encephalitis on the mainland are the result of people eating the carcasses of dinosaurs that had washed up onto Costa Rica's beaches. Here, it is also revealed that Elliot Wu's time is short on the island. He's actually slowly dying. He chose to stay here since he's been the caretaker of Site B for so long, and since he had nowhere else to really go. Malcolm makes a point that Wu should probably get out of here while he still can, since the government will probably be on their way to destroy Site B pretty soon. But Elliot shrugs it off as an inevitability. One way or another, both he and the dinosaurs of Isla Sorna were doomed to die, and it looks like he wanted to go at the same time as everyone else on the island. Now again, if you're interested in finding this manuscript for yourself and reading through the pages, I would highly suggest checking out Adventure Collectibles' website and even his Instagram account, which will also be linked down below. He didn't have to share this with me or any of us, and he deserves credit for breaking the news first, and as Jurassic Park fans, I think we should all support each other no matter what whenever this stuff comes out. He deserves all the credit in this, not me. So, in short, I must admit that I was extremely shocked to hear that this was at one point in time the chosen ending that Crichton would close out his Lost World novel. If I'm being totally real with you guys here, I have to say that I personally really don't like it. While I think the first Jurassic Park book is definitely better than the second, I still enjoy The Lost World and find it to be an interesting read in the Jurassic Park mythos. But this ending that was originally supposed to be in the novel really does put me off in a rather weird way. I guess the entire introduction of a secret brother of Dr. Wu doesn't really sit right with me. And I'll also say that the idea that someone would live on the island for 5 years really feels off to me as well. But then again, I must admit that there is something extremely important that I noticed when I went back and read through these pages again. Remember back in the early days of Jurassic Park 3, where Steven Spielberg got Michael Crichton to come back on board to write that script? Well, one of the earliest story ideas for JP3 was actually the premise of Alan Grant living on Isla Sorna alone and studying the animals on the restricted island, which I find to be a very interesting link that might exist between the book and original script now that I've read through this early draft. Of course, none of that really came to fruition, but I still find it quite interesting to think about. Anyways, that's pretty much the long and short of it. I prefer the official canon ending to the Lost World novel, but what do all of you guys think? What would your reaction have been had this been published in 1995? Do you enjoy having this ending over the official one? And if so, why? Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it seriously means the world to me that you've all continued to support me the way you do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now I'd like to thank all of you for watching today's video, and hope you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next one, guys, and as always, take it easy.